General Hospital spoilers reveal that Jordan is looking to launch a full-scale investigation into Sidwell and his organization, acutely aware of the threat he poses to Port Charles. With the instincts of a former agent and experience in the underworld, she sees alarming signs others may overlook. How Sidwell is building his network, recruiting newcomers like Marco, and gradually infiltrating the city's power structure. Jordan knows this isn't just a common criminal. Sidwell is a dangerous strategist with a long-term plan to take control of Port Charles from within. However, as deputy mayor, Jordan finds herself needing support from Laura, something that signals a significant shift in her role. Her political position imposes limits she never faced as police commissioner. Every action is now under public scrutiny, and every decision may carry political consequences. She can no longer launch a covert investigation without risking her position and potentially Laura's career. This forces Jordan to approach Laura, not only for approval but to build an alliance against Sidwell. Their meeting takes place in the mayor's office after hours, when City Hall is quiet. Jordan lays out her suspicions, the pieces of information she's gathered, and proposes a plan of action. Laura, though initially hesitant due to her personal history with Sidwell and concerns about abuse of power, gradually realizes the gravity of the situation. Ultimately, the two most powerful women in Port Charles reach an agreement. Jordan will proceed with the investigation, backed quietly by Laura. This marks the beginning of a new counteroffensive as Jordan starts building her own intel network to fight Sidwell. She reconnects with trusted allies from her days as commissioner, Curtis, a skilled private investigator with whom she has a complicated past, Mac, her predecessor and trusted mentor, and even Sonny, who, despite a complex past, shares concerns about Sidwell's encroachment on his territory. Jordan sets up a covert surveillance operation on Marco, tracking his every move at the law firm of Alexis and Diane. She's particularly interested in any information Marco might access relating to Sonny, legal documents, confidential communications, and secret dealings with his father. Jordan knows that if she can prove Marco is leaking client information, it could not only get him fired but serve as evidence of Sidwell's illicit operations. This could shift the balance of power in Port Charles. The battle between Jordan and Sidwell isn't just a confrontation between law and crime, it's a high-stakes chess game. Sidwell withdrew as an unwilling ally and Marco as a promising pawn, is expanding his influence in both the business and legal worlds. Jordan, with Laura's discreet backing and her own network, is trying to expose and dismantle his plan before it's too late. Her investigation could not only bring Sidwell's empire to light but also change the power dynamics in the city. If successful, Jordan would not only protect Port Charles but also strengthen her and Laura's political standing. If she fails, she risks everything, her job, her reputation, even her safety. But Jordan, a woman who has devoted her life to justice, is willing to take that risk to protect the city she calls home. Unbeknownst to the people of Port Charles, Jordan Ashford is preparing for the biggest battle of her career, not as police commissioner, but as deputy mayor, carrying a complex past and an unshakable resolve to protect her community. The situation intensifies, and Jordan finds herself taking on a new mission. What began as a quiet investigation has evolved into a tangled web of conspiracies and countermoves. Jordan realizes Sidwell is not only a clever criminal but a master of information. He holds secrets of many powerful individuals in Port Charles and uses them as weapons. Every step Jordan takes must be calculated, every ally carefully chosen, and every piece of information triple-checked before she acts. As she digs deeper, Jordan uncovers a web of shell companies and offshore accounts designed to obscure the true origin of Sidwell's wealth. She traces the flow of money from Sidwell's seemingly legitimate businesses, nightclubs, real estate firms, and uncovers suspicious payments to city officials and even some police officers. Each new piece of the puzzle deepens her understanding of how far Sidwell's reach extends into Port Charles's power structure. Jordan's mission is no longer just about exposing Sidwell. It becomes a fight for the survival of the city government itself. She starts to suspect Sidwell's influence has reached deeper than she imagined, from the city council to the police, from major businesses to the healthcare system. His network is like an invisible spiderweb, and Jordan feels like she's trying to cut each strand without disturbing the whole structure. She begins to doubt everything and everyone around her. She reanalyzes every conversation, every email, every seemingly innocent meeting from the past few months, looking for signs of who Sidwell may have corrupted. She even starts suspecting her closest colleagues at City Hall, like Mark, Laura's longtime aide who suddenly can afford a new car, or Rachel, the communications director who seems overly interested in Jordan's schedule and always happens to be around for key conversations. This growing suspicion leaves Jordan feeling more alone than ever. She no longer knows whom she can truly trust beyond Laura, and even then, she shares information cautiously, afraid Sidwell may have someone tailing the mayor. Jordan upgrades her security, burner phones, encrypted messages, and secret meetings in unexpected places like the old Port Charles Cemetery or an abandoned warehouse near the docks. And now Laura is facing pressure from Ezra, a powerful councilman and longtime ally who suddenly begins questioning her recent decisions. Late-night calls, budgetary inquiries, and subtle public remarks, all signs that Laura is under siege. When Jordan uncovers a secret meeting between Ezra and Marco, the truth becomes clear. Sidwell has turned Ezra, and through him, is exerting pressure on Laura. Ezra's pressure isn't just verbal. He starts proposing budget changes that would gut programs Laura values. He builds alliances within the city council, isolating her and turning minor decisions into prolonged political battles. Rumors even emerge that Ezra is considering running against Laura in the next mayoral election. Feeling the weight of these challenges, Jordan makes a shocking move. She publicly nominates herself to investigate corruption within City Hall. On the surface, it appears to be aimed at Laura. But in reality, it's a strategic maneuver to protect the mayor and get closer to Ezra and Sidwell's network. This decision shocks Laura, alarms Curtis, and makes Sidwell suspicious, but Jordan knows it's her only way to infiltrate the core of the network without revealing her true purpose. At a press conference attended by reporters from the Port Charles Gazette and other outlets, Jordan solemnly announces the investigation, citing her responsibility to the people of Port Charles and pledging to uncover the truth, no matter where it leads. To strengthen her cover and draw Sidwell's attention, Jordan starts planting subtle hints that she's considering early retirement. She complains about work stress in carefully staged, private conversations she knows will reach Sidwell. She even consults a real estate agent about buying a home in Florida, knowing Marco will report it to his father. She alters her routine, arriving late, leaving early, skipping key meetings, and delegating important responsibilities. In a private conversation with her assistant, someone she suspects is feeding information to Sidwell, Jordan even mentions that after years of service, she might finally focus on herself. Rumors of her retirement spread quickly throughout City Hall and Port Charles. Some think she's overwhelmed, others suspect health issues. And only a few, those closest to her, refuse to believe it. This strategy paints her as tired and vulnerable, a tempting target for Sidwell to either corrupt or neutralize. Jordan is betting that he'll try to recruit her rather than eliminate her. If he does, she'll be ready, with a recording device and a plan to trap him with his own tactics. Her closest allies, Curtis, TJ, and even Stella, are caught off guard and worried. They can't understand why such a passionate advocate for justice would suddenly step down. Only Laura knows the truth. And even she worries about the risk Jordan is taking. Curtis, especially, can't accept the sudden change. He knows Jordan too well to believe her facade. One evening, after repeated failed attempts to speak with her, Curtis shows up at her office. He finds her working late, looking over documents she hurriedly hides when he enters. Their conversation is tense and ends with Jordan maintaining her cover, even if it means hurting Curtis. TJ, Jordan's son, also doesn't understand her decision. He flies in from Baltimore, where he's finishing his medical residency, to talk. Their emotional conversation is filled with TJ reminding her of the values she taught him, perseverance and fighting for what's right. Jordan, heartbroken by the worry in her son's eyes, can only offer vague explanations she knows won't satisfy him. Stella, with her wisdom and sharp intuition, may be the only one who suspects something deeper. During a surprise visit, she catches Jordan reviewing documents related to Sidwell's businesses. Before Jordan can hide them, Stella sees enough to understand. With a knowing look, Stella simply says she'll keep the secret, and be there when Jordan needs her. As rumors of her retirement swirl around Port Charles, Jordan begins seeing signs her plan is working. Strange phone calls, invitations to exclusive events from Sidwell-connected figures, and Marco's increased presence at City Hall, all indicate the bait has been taken. The turning point comes when Jordan receives an invitation to an exclusive charity event sponsored by Sidwell himself. Jordan will become the new mayor of Port Charles. One of the latest major shifts is the dramatic change unfolding as the city government faces an unprecedented leadership crisis. Laura Collins, the beloved and respected sitting mayor, suddenly announces her resignation after relentless pressure from Ezra and Sidwell's network. The decision shocks all of Port Charles, creating a power vacuum that many are eager to fill. While Ezra, Sidwell's pawn, has been preparing to run for office, Jordan realizes this may be her only chance to stop Sidwell from fully taking control of the city's administration. But a new complication arises. Jordan now faces the toughest decision of her career. The retirement cover story she so carefully crafted has now become a major obstacle. How can she suddenly announce her candidacy for mayor after publicly discussing her exit from public life? Not only that, but running for office would put her under intense public scrutiny, making it nearly impossible to continue her investigation into Sidwell in secret. And perhaps most dangerously, it would make her a public target for Sidwell, putting her and her loved ones in greater danger than ever before. Yet after many sleepless nights, Jordan comes to a realization. Sometimes the best way to fight isn't from the shadows, but in the light. With Laura's quiet support, she announces her candidacy for mayor, stunning the entire town. In her campaign launch speech, Jordan speaks about how she considered retiring, but realized she couldn't abandon the city she loves at a time it needs her most. Her speech, passionate and heartfelt, wins widespread support from Port Charles residents, who are tired of political turmoil and long for a strong, decisive leader. But the real shock comes when Sidwell, instead of opposing Jordan, publicly announces his support for her. The move confuses everyone, including Jordan. Why would a man bent on controlling Port Charles openly back a former police commissioner known for her integrity? The answer becomes clear when Sidwell invites Jordan to his office to discuss the future of Port Charles. In their meeting, Sidwell reveals that he knows about her investigation, and even admits to admiring her persistence. Then he makes an offer she can't refuse. If Jordan becomes mayor and collaborates with him on certain development projects, he will not only ensure her victory but also scale back some of his illegal operations. Jordan, prepared for every scenario except this one, realizes she's standing at both an opportunity and a trap. She could use Sidwell's offer to get closer, gather more evidence, and finally expose him. But doing so would mean walking a razor's edge, go too far in cooperating, and she risks losing herself and becoming part of the very corruption she's fighting to destroy. As the election nears, Port Charles witnesses a campaign like no other. Jordan, backed publicly by Laura and surprisingly by Sidwell, leads the polls. But behind the scenes, another battle rages, a war for the soul of the city and for Jordan's own soul. Can she become mayor without compromising her values? Can she use her newfound power to finally bring down Sidwell, or will she be swept up in the very game of power she's trying to dismantle? And perhaps the most important question of all: who's really playing whom in this dangerous game of cat and mouse? Sidwell will orchestrate a new murder. A bold and ruthless act designed to consolidate his power and eliminate potential threats. On a rainy night in Port Charles, a scream pierces the quiet, and a key figure in the city becomes the latest victim in this high-stakes power game. The crime scene is flawlessly staged. A dagger once belonging to Helena, bearing Alexis's fingerprints, is found near the body, along with other carefully planted clues meant to direct suspicion toward the attorney. If Alexis is accused of murder due to her fingerprints on Helena's knife, it will trigger yet another major complication for Jordan. As the newly elected mayor, Jordan faces an unprecedented dilemma. On one hand, she must appear as a fair, law-abiding official who respects proper legal procedures. On the other, her instincts as a former police chief scream that this is a setup, and Sidwell is behind it all. She realizes this is not just another murder, but a strategic move in the ongoing chess match with Sidwell, a test of her loyalty and whether she'll cooperate as promised. With public pressure demanding swift justice and Sidwell pushing for Alexis's conviction, Jordan must find a way to calm the situation publicly while secretly pursuing the truth. She launches a covert investigation, relying on her old connections from her days as police chief and the informant network she's carefully rebuilt. Every move must be calculated. Sidwell is watching her closely. TJ and Molly will help Jordan. A new storyline ignites. Jordan's son and his fiancée, who also happens to be Alexis's daughter, become unexpected but invaluable allies in this underground war. TJ, with his medical knowledge and access to the hospital, begins closely examining the autopsy reports, searching for inconsistencies or overlooked details. Molly, armed with her legal expertise, digs into the evidence, looking for cracks in the case against her mother. Their investigation leads to a shocking discovery. The fingerprints on the dagger are too perfect, too clear to be authentic. With help from a trusted forensic expert, they determine the prints were transferred from another object Alexis had touched, perhaps a wine glass or a legal document in Diane's office, where Marco had access. As they dig deeper, TJ and Molly uncover a much larger web of manipulation and deceit. They begin connecting dots between the recent murder, Sidwell's business dealings, and even the recent mayoral election. A broader picture begins to form. Sidwell doesn't just want to control Port Charles, he has far bigger plans, involving a massive real estate development that would forever change the city. Both the victim and Alexis had strongly opposed the project. With every new lead, TJ and Molly inch closer to the truth, but also closer to danger. Sidwell, whose eyes and ears are everywhere in Port Charles, starts sensing someone is probing into the case. He begins asking questions, pressuring those who may have helped TJ and Molly, and even places people to follow them. Jordan, aware of the growing danger her son and future daughter-in-law are facing, must balance protecting them with continuing the investigation. She starts using her new mayoral position as a shield, setting up official meetings and opportunities for TJ and Molly to share findings under the guise of city business. She also begins making vague public statements about unexplored angles in the case, a subtle warning to Sidwell that she won't be easily manipulated. As this covert war escalates, Port Charles teeters on the edge of a crisis that could permanently alter its future. Jordan, with TJ and Molly by her side, is slowly building a case against Sidwell, not just to clear Alexis's name, but to shut down his operation once and for all. But time is running out. Alexis's trial is approaching, and pressure on Jordan to deliver results is mounting. In a town where power and secrets are tightly intertwined, the battle between Jordan and Sidwell isn't just about justice for a murder, it's about the very soul of Port Charles. And with every step closer to the truth, the stakes, and the danger, only grow. Will Jordan, TJ, and Molly expose Sidwell before it's too late? Or will they become the next casualties in this bloody game of power? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Port Charles will never be the same after this storm.